Welcome to Top Rare Coins, your ultimate destination for discovering the hidden treasures of history. On this channel, we explore some of the most fascinating and valuable old coins from the United States. From rare pennies and silver dollars to historic coins worth thousands of dollars. Each piece has a story waiting to be uncovered. Whether you're a collector, a history lover, or just curious about coins you might have lying around, this channel will guide you through the world of rare U.S. coins, helping you valuable finds and learn what makes them so special. Don't forget to subscribe and join us as we uncover the secrets behind America's rarest coins. Title: 1974 Lincoln 1-cent no mint mark. Hidden treasure worth thousands. In the world of coin collecting, some of the most valuable discoveries come from the coins people overlook every day. One such coin that continues to spark curiosity and excitement is the 1974 Lincoln 1-cent with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary penny. But under the right conditions, this small copper coin can hold surprising value, with rare examples reaching prices that can exceed $1,200 or more in today's market. Let's take a closer look at why this coin matters, what makes certain versions valuable, and how you can identify if you have one worth serious money. The 1974 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, originally introduced in 1909. By 1974, these coins were still composed primarily of copper, making them heavier and more durable than modern zinc pennies. The design features Abraham Lincoln on the front, while the reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial, a design used from 1959 to 2008. Now, the key detail here is the absence of a mint mark. A no-mint mark coin means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. During 1974, Philadelphia produced a massive number of pennies, meaning most of these coins are very common. However, not all 1974 no-mint mark pennies are created equal. The real value lies in condition, rarity of specific variations, and potential minting errors. Why are collectors willing to pay over $1,200 for certain examples? The answer comes down to grade and rarity. In coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor condition all the way up to mint state 70, which represents a perfect coin with no visible flaws. The majority of 1974 pennies found in circulation today fall into lower grades, meaning they have scratches, wear, and dull surfaces. However, if you come across a 1974 no mint mark penny in mint state condition, especially grades like MS65, MS66, or higher, the value can increase dramatically. Coins with strong luster, sharp details, and minimal imperfections are highly sought after by collectors. Another factor that drives value is the presence of errors or unique variations. Minting errors are among the most exciting finds in coin collecting because they are rare and often one-of-a-kind. Some known error types for 1974 pennies include double die errors, where the design appears slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin design is not properly aligned, and die cracks, which can create unusual raised lines on the coin's surface point. One of the most talked about possibilities for 1974 pennies is the rare aluminum experimental cent. In 1974, the U.S. Mint experimented with aluminum as a replacement for copper due to rising metal costs. A small number of aluminum pennies were produced, but they were never officially released into circulation. While most were recovered and destroyed, rumors persist that a few examples may still exist in private hands. If such a coin were ever authenticated and legally owned, its value would be extraordinary, potentially reaching into the hundreds of thousands or even millions. However, for standard copper 1974 no mint mark pennies, the realistic high-end value of $1,200 or more is typically reserved for coins in exceptional uncirculated condition or those with rare and verified mint errors. So how can you check if your coin is valuable? Start by examining the overall condition. Look at the coin under good lighting. Does it still have a bright, original shine known as mint luster? Are the details on Lincoln's hair and the Lincoln Memorial sharp and clear? If the coin looks nearly perfect, it could be worth further evaluation. Next, check for errors. Use a magnifying glass or a coin microscope if possible. Look closely at the lettering, especially the words Liberty and I in God We Trust. Any doubling or unusual features could indicate a valuable variety. Also, Make sure the coin is indeed from 1974 and has no mint mark below the date. This confirms it was minted in Philadelphia. Weight can also provide clues. A standard 1974 copper penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. If the weight is significantly different, it may indicate a rare composition error. If you believe you have a high-grade or error coin, the next step is professional grading. Reputable grading services can authenticate and assign a grade to your coin, which significantly increases its market value and buyer confidence. Now let's talk about market demand. Coin collecting has grown rapidly in recent years, especially on platforms like YouTube, where collectors share discoveries, values, and tips. Coins like the 1974 no mint mark penny gain attention because they are still relatively easy to find, making them exciting for beginners and experienced collectors alike. Collectors are constantly searching for coins that combine historical significance, rarity, and visual appeal. The 1974 penny meets these criteria when found in exceptional condition or with unique features. It's also important to understand pricing reality. While headlines may suggest extremely high values, not every 1974 penny will sell for $1,200. Most are worth only face value or a few cents above. The high prices apply only to top-tier examples. Today we are diving into one of the most talked-about coins among collectors and beginners alike, the 1977 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark. There is a lot of hype online claiming this coin could be worth up to $1.2 million. But what is the real story? Is this coin truly a hidden treasure sitting in your pocket, or is it simply misunderstood? Let's break it down in detail so you understand its history, rarity, errors, and true market value. First, let's understand what a no mint mark actually means. In 1977, Lincoln pennies were produced at multiple U.S. mint locations, including Philadelphia and Denver. At that time, coins minted in Philadelphia typically did not carry a mint mark. So if you find a 1977 penny without a mint mark, it simply means it was produced in Philadelphia. This is completely normal and not rare by itself. Now here is where many people get confused. A missing mint mark is only valuable when it is not supposed to be missing. For example, certain coins from other years are known for mint mark errors, which makes them extremely valuable. But for the 1977 penny, no mint mark is standard and expected. That means millions and millions of these coins were produced. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 4.4 billion Lincoln cents in 1977. That is a massive number. Because of this high mintage, the vast majority of 1977 no mint mark pennies are only worth their face value of 1 cent, or slightly more, depending on condition. So why are people claiming values of $1,200,000? The answer lies in misinformation and confusion with rare error coins. Some online listings or videos exaggerate values to attract attention. However, in the real coin market, professional grading and verified sales tell a very different story. Let's talk about what actually makes a 1977 penny valuable. Condition is the #1 factor. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. Most coins in circulation are worn, which significantly reduces their value. But if you happen to find a 1977 penny in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used and still has its original shine, then it can be worth more. For example, a 1977 no mint mark penny in average circulated condition is worth around 1 to 5 cents. In extremely fine condition, it may reach 10 to 20 cents. But in mint state condition, especially grades like MS65 or higher, the value can increase to several dollars, sometimes even reaching $10 to $50 depending on eye appeal and grading. Now let's discuss errors, because this is where real money can be made. Error coins are mistakes that happen during the minting process. These can include double strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, or misaligned dies. If your 1977 penny has a significant and clearly visible error, its value could jump dramatically. One of the most sought-after types of errors is a double die. This happens when the design is stamped twice slightly off alignment, creating a noticeable doubling effect on letters or numbers. While a true major double die for 1977 is not widely recognized like some other famous years, minor doubling can still add value. Another valuable error is an off-center strike. If the coin design is not properly centered and a portion of the blank is missing the design, collectors may pay a premium depending on how dramatic the error is. There are also clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing due to a cutting error, and broad strike errors where the coin spreads out because it was not properly held during striking. These types of errors can turn a common penny into a collectible item worth anywhere from $20 to several $100s. Now let's address the million-dollar question directly. Is there any known 1977 Lincoln penny with no mint mark that has sold for $1.20 million? The honest answer is no verified record supports that claim. No reputable auction house or grading service has documented a sale anywhere near that price for a standard 1977 penny. Even the rarest Lincoln cents in history, like the famous 1943 copper penny, are the ones reaching extremely high values, not the 1977 issue. However, that does not mean your coin has no value. It simply means you need to evaluate it correctly. Here is what you should do if you find a 1977 no mint mark penny. First, examine the coin under good lighting. Look closely at the date, the word Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust." Check for any unusual doubling, distortions, or irregularities. Second, inspect the overall condition. Does the coin still have its original red color, or has it turned brown? Red, uncirculated coins are generally more valuable. Third, weigh the coin if possible. A standard Lincoln penny from 1977 should weigh about 3.11 grams. Any significant deviation could indicate an unusual error or damage. Today we are exploring one of the most talked about coins among collectors and beginners alike, the 1981 Lincoln 1 cent with a missing mint mark. Could this coin really be worth up to $1,200,000? Or is it just hype? Stay with me as we break down the facts, the errors, and the real market value. The 1981 Lincoln cent is part of the long-running Lincoln penny series, originally introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. By 1981, these pennies were still composed mostly of copper, just before the major transition to zinc-coated coins in 1982. This makes 1981 one of the final years of the classic copper penny era, which already gives it some interest among collectors. Now let's talk about mint marks. In 1981, Lincoln cents were produced at three major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia traditionally carried no mint mark, while Denver coins were marked with a small d, and San Francisco coins had an S. So at first glance, a 1981 penny with no mint mark might seem completely normal because Philadelphia coins were not marked. But here is where confusion begins and where rumors of high value start spreading. Many people search for a 1981 D penny with no mint mark, believing it is a rare mint error. However, it is important to understand that a genuine 1981 D coin must have the D mint mark. If that mint mark is missing, the coin would have to be an extremely rare and verified mint error, not just a worn or damaged coin. Mint errors do happen, but true missing mint mark errors are incredibly rare and must be authenticated by professional grading services. Most of the coins people find with a missing D are simply coins where the mint mark has been worn off, damaged, or altered after leaving the mint. These coins do not carry significant value. Now let's address the big claim, the $1,200,000 value. This number is often seen in viral posts, clickbait videos, or misleading listings online. In reality, there is no confirmed sale of a 1981 Lincoln cent without a mint mark reaching anywhere near $1 million. High-value pennies do exist, but they are usually tied to extremely rare errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, or unique transitional compositions. For example, some of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever sold include the 1943 bronze cent and the 1955 double die penny. These coins are famous because they are extremely rare and well documented. The 1981 penny, on the other hand, is very common in standard form. That said, certain 1981 pennies can still have value. Condition plays a huge role in coin pricing. A coin in mint state condition, meaning it has never been circulated and retains its original shine, can be worth more than face value. Coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional services can sell for a few dollars to potentially higher amounts depending on demand. There are also different varieties of the 1981 penny to look for. One of the key distinctions is between the large date and small date varieties. These refer to subtle differences in the size and spacing of the numbers in the year. While not extremely rare, Collectors do seek out these variations, and some can carry a premium, especially in high grades. Another factor to consider is errors. While a missing mint mark is usually not a true error in this case, other types of errors can increase value. Look for coins with double strikes, misaligned dies, or off-center designs. These are the types of features that collectors pay attention to, and they can significantly raise the price of a coin that if you believe you have a rare 1981 penny. The most important step is authentication. Professional grading companies such as PCGS or NGC can examine your coin and determine whether it is a genuine error or simply a common coin. Without certification, it is very difficult to sell a coin for high value, especially in the thousands or millions. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and potentially valuable coins in modern U.S. history, the 1983 Liberty 1 cent with no mint mark. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but could be worth up to $1.2 million under the right conditions. Let's break down what makes this coin so special, how to identify it, and why collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for it. The 1983 Lincoln cent is part of the Lincoln Memorial Series, originally designed by Victor David Brenner. At a glance, millions of these coins were produced, and most are still only worth face value. However, a rare and valuable variation exists, and that is where things get interesting. First, let's talk about what no mint mark means. Coins produced in Philadelphia traditionally did not carry a mint mark for many years, including 1983. So technically, a 1983 penny without a mint mark is normal. But the real value comes from specific rare errors and unique characteristics tied to this year. In 1983, the United States Mint made a major change in the composition of pennies. Prior to 1982, pennies were primarily made of copper. Starting in 1982 and continuing into 1983, the mint transitioned to zinc coins with a thin copper plating. Now here's where the rarity comes in. Some extremely rare 1983 pennies were mistakenly struck on leftover copper planchets from earlier years. These are known as transitional errors, and they are among the most valuable coins in modern numismatics. A genuine 1983 copper penny with no mint mark is incredibly rare. Experts estimate that only a handful exist, making them highly desirable to collectors. So how do you identify one? Start with weight. A standard 1983 zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. A copper version weighs approximately 3.11 grams. This small difference is the first major clue. Next, examine the color. Copper coins have a deeper, richer brown or reddish tone, while zinc pennies tend to appear lighter and more dull over time. Another important factor is condition. Coins graded in mint state condition, meaning they show no signs of wear, can command significantly higher prices. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC play a major role in determining value. A coin authenticated and graded by these organizations can instantly become more desirable and trustworthy in the collector market. Now let's talk about the value. Most 1983 pennies are worth just 1 cent. But a confirmed copper 1983 penny with no mint mark has sold for tens of thousands of dollars, and experts believe that pristine examples could reach values approaching $1.2 million, especially if demand continues to rise and the coin is in exceptional condition. But that's not the only valuable variety from 1983. There is also the famous 1983 double die reverse error. This error shows noticeable doubling in the lettering on the reverse side of the coin, particularly in the words 1 cent and United States of America. These double die coins can sell for hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on condition. So, if you're checking your coins, here's a quick checklist. Look at the date, 1983. Check for no mint mark, meaning it was minted in Philadelphia. Weigh the coin. If it's around 3.11 grams, you might have a copper error. Inspect the reverse for doubling in the text. Evaluate the condition. The cleaner and more preserved, the better. If your coin matches these features, do not clean it. Cleaning can reduce its value significantly. Instead, store it safely and consider having it evaluated by a professional grading service. One of the reasons coins like this reach such high values is because of scarcity and demand. Collectors are always searching for unique pieces, and transitional errors represent a moment in history where something unusual happened at the mint. These coins are not just currency. They are historical artifacts. The idea that a simple penny could be worth hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It turns everyday pocket change into a treasure hunt. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about modern rarities, the 1990 Liberty 1 cent with no mint mark. A coin that, under the right conditions, has sparked claims of value starting from $1.2 million. At first glance, the 1990 Lincoln cent looks like any other penny you might find in your pocket. It features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design that has been part of American coinage since 1909. On the reverse, depending on the version, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a classic design used until 2008. But here's where things get interesting. Most 1990 pennies were struck at major U.S. mint facilities, including Philadelphia and Denver. Coins from Denver carry a small D mint mark just below the date. Philadelphia coins, during that period, typically had no mint mark at all, which is where confusion begins for many collectors. So why is the 1990 no mint mark penny being talked about as a high-value coin? The answer lies in a very specific type of error and rarity, a transitional or misidentified strike combined with unusual die characteristics. Not every 1990 penny without a mint mark is valuable. In fact, most are extremely common and only worth face value. However, a rare subset of these coins shows distinctive anomalies that separate them from the billions produced. Collectors and experts have reported examples where the coin displays abnormal strike sharpness, unusual surface texture, or die variations that suggest it may have been struck under unique or unintended conditions. These are not ordinary circulation coins. They are mint errors or varieties that slipped through quality control. Now let's talk about value. The claim that a 1990 no mint mark penny can start at $1.2 million is tied to extremely rare, verified specimens, not the average coin. For a coin to reach such a high valuation, it must meet strict criteria. First, it must be authenticated by a reputable grading service. Second, it must display a clear and rare minting anomaly. Third, it must be in near-perfect condition, often graded MS 67 or higher. Condition plays a massive role in coin valuation. A heavily circulated coin with scratches, wear, or discoloration will never reach high prices. On the other hand, a pristine example with sharp details, original luster, and no visible damage can command extraordinary premiums, especially if it also carries a rare error. Another key factor is demand. The coin market is driven by collectors who are constantly searching for unique pieces to complete their collections. When a coin becomes widely discussed, especially on platforms like YouTube, demand can increase rapidly. This drives up perceived value, sometimes even beyond traditional market estimates. However, it's important to approach these high-value claims with caution. Not every listing you see online is legitimate. Many sellers advertise common coins at inflated prices, hoping to attract inexperienced buyers. Just because a coin is listed for thousands or even millions of dollars does not mean it has sold for that amount. Real market value is determined by confirmed sales, auction records, and professional appraisals. So how can you tell if you have a valuable 1990 no mint mark penny? Start by examining the coin closely. Look for unusual features such as doubling in the lettering, off-center strikes, or differences in texture compared to standard coins. Use a magnifying glass or a digital microscope if possible. Next, compare your coin with verified examples from trusted sources. Pay attention to small details, the spacing of letters, the shape of numbers, and the overall strike quality. That if your coin appears unique, the next step is professional grading. Companies like PCGS and NGC specialize in authenticating and grading coins. They can confirm whether your coin is a genuine error or simply a common variation. Today, we are diving into one of the most talked about modern coins in circulation, the 1995 Lincoln 1 cent coin, including the versions people believe have no mint mark and the famous 1995 D penny. There is a lot of hype online claiming values reaching into thousands or even over $1 million. But what is real? What is rare? And what should you actually be looking for? Let's break it down clearly so you know exactly what to check in your pocket change. First, let's understand the basics. The 1995 Lincoln cent was produced in large quantities by the United States Mint. There were three main varieties struck that year. Coins with no mint mark were made in Philadelphia. Coins with a D mint mark were made in Denver. And coins with an S mint mark were proof coins made in San Francisco. So when someone says a 1995 penny with no mint mark, that is actually normal for Philadelphia coins. It is not automatically rare just because the mint mark is missing. Now let's address one of the biggest misconceptions. A 1995 D penny with no mint mark is not a standard error combination. A coin cannot be both Denver minted and have no mint mark at the same time. If you see claims online about a 1995 D with no mint mark being worth extremely high amounts, you need to be cautious. Many of these listings are either misidentified coins, altered coins, or simply exaggerated claims used to attract attention. However, this does not mean the 1995 penny has no value. In fact, there is a very important and highly collectible variety that you should definitely look for. That is the 1995 double die obverse penny. This is a real and well-documented mint error, and it can be worth significant money depending on its condition. What exactly is a double die obverse? This happens during the coin manufacturing process when the die used to strike the coin has a slight misalignment during its creation. As a result, certain design elements appear doubled. On the 1995 double die penny, the doubling is most noticeable on the word Liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." If you look closely with a magnifying glass, you will see clear separation in the letters rather than just a blurry or shadow-like effect. This is where things get exciting. A genuine 1995 double die penny in circulated condition can be worth anywhere from $20 to over $100. In uncirculated condition, the value can rise to several $100s. And in high-grade mint state condition, graded by professional services, some examples have sold for over $1,000 or more. Now let's talk about the rumors of extremely high values like $1,200 million. These claims are not supported by real auction records or numismatic data. Number 1995 Lincoln Cent has ever sold for anything close to that amount. It is important to stay grounded and rely on verified sales rather than viral headlines. That said, rare coins can absolutely reach impressive prices, but those are typically unique historical pieces or extremely rare mint errors with confirmed authenticity.